So before I was able to tell you everything about the regulation of clotting, before I crashed, how factor 2 activates thrombomodulin, which then inhibits itself via protein C. Protein C will inhibit factor 8 and factor 5, and that will prevent the whole entire cascade from getting to factor 2. I need to tell you that protein C was the other enzyme that required calcium in order to work. So that gives us the full list of factors 9, 7, 10, 2, and protein C that require vitamin K and calcium. Now continuing on, we also have another inhibitory step also on thrombin. And the thing that inhibits thrombin is going to be antithrombin. And antithrombin is important because, okay, so first thing, let's talk about where it comes from. It comes from the liver. And it's floating around in the blood. And the clinical correlate to this is that it inhibits factor 2. And we have this drug called heparin. Which will enhance antithrombin. And then antithrombin will then inhibit factor 2. So heparin over here is an anticoagulant. All right, so where can things go wrong? So we have to talk about the diseases that can go wrong. And one of the places that we can go wrong is if we're missing one of these factors, or we're missing a component of these factors. So the first one I'm going to talk about is von Willebrand factor. Where does von Willebrand factor come from? Von Willebrand factor comes from your platelets. So remember when I was mentioning that, there's certain things that platelets will release that will be mediating this process. Well, von Willebrand factor is one of them. Von Willebrand factor is attached to factor 8. And if you have a deficiency in von Willebrand factor, you don't clock very well. Also, if you're missing factor 8, factor 8 is hemophilia A. And how you can remember that is because 8 sounds like A. Factor 9, when you have a deficiency in factor 9, it's hemophilia B. And this happens when you have deficiency of the factors, you won't be able to make a clot, and you have a higher chance of bleeding out. So we talked about clotting, we talked about platelets. Now we have to find a way to get rid of them, because at one point your body is going to heal itself. The endothelial is ready to push its way and close off this fibrin plug. So how does it do it? Well, there's a protein in your blood called plasminogen. And it needs to be converted to an active form called plasmin. And plasmin is the thing that will break down this clot so that your endothelial cells can finally take hold and be normal again. And the thing that will activate this, there are 3 things that activate this. And they're going to be UPA, TPA, and streptokinase. So you can imagine why these things would be important, because if you had a heart attack, you had a clot somewhere, and you want to dissolve that clot, you can use these things. And then that is the end of clotting.